Shane, where did you come up with the term Canadian Afro? That's what I really want to know.
Where do any of these things stem in my fucked up brain? Like they gestate. Something gets impregnated in my brain, and then it gestates for a period of time. And then
how does a brain get impregnated anyway?
With thoughts, and knowledge and education.
So like sperm, right? When sperm impregnates, it's a very low ratio of the ones that are actually successful, right? I think that's called motility or something like that.
Yeah.
What about with thoughts? How many thoughts make it into the brain? Do thoughts have higher motility into your brain than sperm do in creating humans?
Yes. There's many thoughts that fly through this that don't come out. Do
you have any brain condoms?
Yes. There are thoughts that don't make it out that I go, oh, well, this would be fun, and then I got to back up on the tweet because I'm like, nope.
Wait. Does the motility come from the thoughts that impregnate his brain, or do they come from the thoughts that make it out of his brain?
Maybe both. It's like an osmosis type of thing.
Like, are you asking
Osmosis Jones?
Dude, that's the first thing that went to my mind too. That's terrible. Jacob, are you old enough to know Osmosis Jones?
I don't know Osmosis Jones. No.
I've never seen it. I
haven't either. Yeah. I think it was like right after I was old enough to stop watching cartoons, or like right around that range. But
I'm much older. I was watching GoBots and G.I. Joes and Transformers.
These are so many things that I've never heard of. Wow.
The Jetsons.
Wait, you've never heard? Wait. Have you heard
of G.I. Joe? That I've heard of, yes.
And what about GoBots? I was like Transformers.
They were the welfare. Well, they were like the poor kids' Transformers. So like your mom couldn't afford to get you Transformers because those are expensive.
The great value brand of Transformer.
Right, but she could go to McCory's and get you like 15 GoBots for like $5, and she'd bring them home all proud and shit, and you'd be like, I don't want this, you fucking white trash. I want a goddamn Transformer. This is an Optimus Prime. And then, stuff would happen.
I got to say, man, we used to have a lot better pre-show sessions than we have recently, but we're back to our prime. This was one of our best. This was 150 seconds of Optimus Prime gold from us.
Canadian Afro.
It's the Digimon of the Pokemon world. You guys ready?
Oh,
This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Shane Manila, Jacob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
Oh, man. So I've been toying with the idea of bringing in a professional music artist to come redo our intro, but I love this one so much that I just can't bring myself to do it. I mean, I've had multiple different, big time mainstream artists reach out to me, and they're like, dude, we love your show. We want to make you a new intro.
Somehow I love this. Somehow I feel like Kendrick Lamar is not being like, what up, CV? Wow. Actually, Shane, you're from Philly, so your favorite rapper is probably Meek Mill, right? You're in Philadelphia.
False. So here's a funny thing. So I never liked Meek Mill, right? Completely when him and Drake were beefing, which was one of the worst beefs of all time.
But
I was completely on Drake's side because I like Drake. He's a good little pop star and makes good music. And Meek Mill, for the most part, made just awful, terrible music until what's it, Dreams and Nightmares? And since that was the theme song that the Eagles won in the Super Bowl, then I was like, all right, I like Meek Mill a little bit. And he is a Philly guy, so I should root for him, right? He's from around the way.
Yeah, Philadelphia, as he once said.
We got some Facebookers in the chat. It's been a minute. I know Facebook, you guys love it in season, but out of season, we don't see you guys too often. So I'm happy to see you guys in here. If you guys are over there on Twitter, make sure y'all go check us out on YouTube so you can join in the conversation. That's youtube.com/fantasyintervention. The link is in the comments. So let's go ahead and get this episode kicked off.
If anybody wants to bang out the dreams and nightmares from Meek Mill, I threw that up in the comments.
You can bang that out with some high motility.
Yeah.
Oh God. So we have an episode today where we're going to be talking a lot about the values, right? We're going to be discussing, which values we're going to try and tackle in the offseason, because especially like with dynasty leagues, there are certain players that will end up skyrocketing just from 1 or 2 weeks in the season, or maybe preseason. If an injury happens, you'll just see, astronomical level skyrocketing values just shooting across the board. We saw it with James Robinson after Leonard Fournette got cut that year. We've seen it with players every single year. So I do want to discuss that. Before we get started on that topic, we do have a question coming in from Facebook. And if you guys put your questions in the chat, we will continue to answer them. So please launch all your questions in there.
Especially if it's from Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah. Well, Twitter, we can't see it. So it has
we can't see
so
it.
We won't answer
flying blind from the Bird app.
Yeah,
thanks,
go
Cooter.
Join us over there on YouTube. Cooter, if you're watching, you specifically need to come join us on YouTube. So who is an RB1 that you're targeting in the first round of your fantasy drafts?
I can't imagine doing such a thing.
Oh, Jacob.
Draft a running back in the first round? Okay, here's the answer. Christian McCaffrey. That's the only running back I'll take in the first round, because I'm taking him at the 101 in redraft leagues. And if I'm taking him at the 101, then obviously I'm taking him at the 102. And then if he's gone, then I'm taking a wide receiver or a tight end. So Christian McCaffrey is the only answer.
Not Jonathan Taylor.
I'll take Jonathan
I'm taking
Taylor
McCaffrey
10 days a week.
McCaffrey, here's a stat. In 13 of his last 26 starts, which also
over the last 5 years,
all of his starts over the last
5 years.
Last 3 years. He has had over 20
points. How many games were there in the last 3 years?
Shane, just injury prone doesn't exist. Why are you spreading misinformation?
These are just questions.
This is a chase narrative from you.
As a curious person,
narrative.
I'm curious. How many games were there in the last 3 seasons altogether? Just
26.
Curious.
That's what I just said.
There was 26 football games?
Oh, for McCaffrey. Possibly? If McCaffrey doesn't play, it doesn't even count as a game.
But I mean, I'm not great with math, so I think there was 49?
There's 49. So he's over half.
Okay.
Over half. Yeah.
Hey, he's a great baseball player.
So it's nice. It's nice that you care about fake news like injury prone, but no, I love Taylor Joseph. And if I was drafting at the 2 slot and someone else was a crazy person like me drafting Christian McCaffrey, then absolutely I would take Jonathan Taylor at the 2 slot. But honestly, that's probably a best ball take. If I'm in redraft, I'm just taking like Justin Jefferson 101, because I really don't draft running backs in redraft.
Yeah. Is there anyone in this room that's drafting a fucking running back in the first round?
I mean, it just depends. I would take Jonathan Taylor in a heartbeat.
We are children. We are the zero running back generation. We're
getting there. We're getting there.
We learned. No, we all bow or pray at the feet of Sean Siegel and zero running back.
Dude, I don't know. If I'm sitting there at 112 and I have like Stephon Diggs off the board, or maybe not 112, let's say 110, and Stephon Diggs is off the board, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, I think I'd target a running back at that point.
Maybe there. Yeah, there. I don't really consider that. I mean, I thought we were talking about
round, Shane.
But first round where you have to make a real choice, like up to 106 where there's elite players still, 107 where you go, oof, I don't know. Stephon Diggs is an elite. He's good. He's not elite. But when I got to choose between Jonathan Taylor,
what if I was to tell you that Stephon Diggs had more expected fantasy points per game last year than he did the year prior when everybody loved him?
That's fine. I never said he was elite the year that everybody loved him either. He's good. He's very good. Elite's
over
a different
5
tier.
Expected fantasy points per game more than Jamar Chase.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God. All right. So let's go ahead and let's move into our topic. And once again, that topic is which players we trying to acquire before the 2022 season starts, because we could see a skyrocket potential situation. And we're going to show sheet. Yeah, I sent it in the chat, bro. You said you're going to look some stuff up and do some research, but obviously that didn't happen. So let's go ahead and let's jump on. That. No, you didn't. Nice. You didn't, but you did contribute.
I didn't. Well, I posted in the Twitter messages. I said, here's some names.
And I stole them all.
Yeah, all right. Exactly. Ball is life. I am going to talk about Travis Etienne. You're goddamn right I
am. So let's start out with the quarterback position, though. And let's talk about Trey Lance, because Trey Lance right now, he's pricey, but I don't think he's out of reach. Like, once a quarterback gets in the top 5 or top 4, I feel like they're out of reach at the time. I don't want to send 3 first-round picks and a couple second-round picks for a quarterback position. I don't care how elite they are. I'd rather take a
second round pick. That's the issue. He's like 3 firsts and 1 second. Kyler Murray, let's go. And then the guy's like, yeah, but could you give me an extra 25 seconds? He's like, no, I can't do that.
I like the Trey Lance one. He's QB 13 right now on DLF's ADP.
Way too low. Way too low.
Well, that's the hedging. His upside is so high, but no, I'm afraid. We're
not going to use the word hedge. We're going to use the real word, which is coward. People are.
That's my word. You don't use my word in my phrase. It's my phrase.
The word coward. I
invented the "you are a coward." Use that. That's mine.
So can we walk through real quick, Shane? We'll start with you. Can we walk through what the fears with Trey Lance? What the thoughts are and what you think his value is sitting.
QB 13. I'll draft him higher than that. I mean, just looking at QBs ahead of him, I'll take him over Trevor Lawrence, to be quite honest with you, because at least he has rushing ability, and even if he can't throw, I know he's going to run. And I know Kyle Shanahan will use him that way. Trevor Lawrence is who scares the absolute balls off of me. So I'd easily take him over.
High motility balls.
Yeah, high motility brain balls. I would definitely take him over Trevor Lawrence. There's a good chance I'd probably find a way to take him over Stafford. And by find a way, I mean trade back, let somebody else draft Stafford, and then I would just take Lance like I was forced to do it. But look, these are the types of quarterbacks you should be shooting for, right? Like the upside is, like you said, that top 5, because if they hit that top 5, it doesn't really matter if I paid QB 10 prices for him, even if that's a little high right now. Once they hit that QB 5 and better range, their price is whatever I want it to be. And, I've done this in leagues where I've traded for Justin Herbert and given up everything but one of my children. And if they would have said that you had to give up your child, there's a good chance I'd only have one son. So, I
love that Chase earlier was not willing to give up the extra second round pick. And you were like, fine, I'll give up a kid.
You want to win. You gotta give some stuff up, man.
All right. So Jacob, what is the price right now?
This is a dynasty show, Joseph.
Yeah, Joseph, not
Joseph.
really.
This is a dynasty show. Yes, obviously him over Stafford. Trey Lance is the QB 9 for me in dynasty. I'm willing to hear arguments higher than that. I don't think it's even remotely viable to consider Russell Wilson or Matthew Stafford or Trevor Lawrence or Jalen Hurts or any of these other jabronis over Trey Lance.
Really?
Lance
You're not going Hurts?
No, because Hurts is a second round pick who's owed nothing, and he's not coming up on my board at this point. I love Jalen Hurts. I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts, but if we're talking dynasty, we want a value insulated quarterback. There's no easier bet than a value insulated first round rushing quarterback. Like, the floor is that he would be where Jalen Hurts is now next year, which is coming off of a middling passing season in which he scored a bunch of fantasy points. And then the ceiling is that he performs quite well, and he's the most valuable asset there is in Superflex, which is a young, elite rushing quarterback. He'd be right in that mix next to Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray. It's easily him over the rest of these guys. He is 14th overall in my Superflex rankings. I would take him only behind the very obvious quarterbacks. So Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Kyler, Lamar, Deshaun Watson, Burrow, and Dak. And then Taylor, Jefferson, Chase, and Pitts. That's it. Those are the only names that I would consider over Trey Lance.
Well, and if you guys don't listen to the show regularly, Jacob is a huge, huge Trey Lance truther. He's been this way since he was drafted and absolutely loves him.
Guy runs, and he plays quarterback. It's that easy.
So I do have some other quarterbacks coming up in the next section, Jacob, if you haven't pulled it up.
Oh, yeah.
But are there any other players that you guys want to talk about at the quarterback position, or do we want to move on to running backs?
I think there's an interesting quarterback that we can talk about.
Is it going to be Daniel Jones? Because I feel like that's where you want to go.
It's Daniel Jones.
Let's save that for the next section. That's why I was trying to give you a cue.
Okay. Wait, how do these sections work? If you don't want to talk about the quarterbacks now, what are we?
No, we're going to get back to it. We're going to talk about lottery picks here in a little bit. So let's hop on to.
Are we going to talk about Zack Wilson though? Because that's the other one.
Okay, let's do Zack Wilson. That's perfect.
Yeah. Again, we want to talk about young quarterbacks with upside. This is how in Dynasty we are so bad at the value determination of everything else except for young quarterbacks. Like the wide receivers that we have near the top, the running backs we have near the top, it changes out every single year. What doesn't change out is the first round. Anytime, Joseph, I'll take your money anytime. Anytime. If any single person watching the show from Facebook would like to form a league of 11 Facebook users and me for as high of stakes as humanly possible in Dynasty with 2 years paid in advance, find 11 of you and let's roll. I will happily take on the Facebook users that draft their olds and their running backs.
Oh, man. All right.
Easy money.
All right, so about Zack Wilson, like the reason why Zack Wilson didn't even come to mind is because I have him in every single league. I was going through my leagues and I'm like, oh, I want to see who I can acquire. I mean, Zack Wilson's in the best place possible right now. So
here's a hedge for people, or sorry, I won't use it. Pivot. So someone like me who's deathly afraid of Trevor Lawrence, I almost feel like, can I trade Trevor Lawrence for Zack Wilson?
Exactly.
Plus? If I can do that, I'm doing that.
All right.
Okay, Jacob agrees with me. Well, I don't know if you do.
That's
I already
exactly
have them everywhere.
Yeah, we love this. I love Facebook. Yes, shockingly, Facebook thinks Zack Wilson is trash. Yeah, this is the thing. Rookie quarterbacks are usually bad. We got spoiled with Burrow and spoiled with Herbert. Zack Wilson might be trash. He was definitely trash last year. It's definitely conceivable. He doesn't have the rushing upside that a Lance does, to the point where he just sort of becomes, automatically fantasy productive, even if he is trash passing. But again, if we're looking for upside and stable upside at a guy who's going to make this large ascension and then stay there, Zack Wilson is a shot at that. I think he's priced appropriately in terms of around guys like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, who should be projected to score more points this year and potentially maintain that value for a little bit. But if you're looking at guys whose value could explode, I mean, Zack Wilson is one of the best high upside bets there are, because I look at Lawrence. Him and Wilson have pretty similar rushing projection. Lawrence doesn't have as much room to go. People are more confident in the floor, but both these guys were very trash last year. I don't think you should be that much more confident in the floor of Trevor Lawrence than Zack Wilson. So at cost, by a mile, give me Zack Wilson, because it's a way lower opportunity cost. And so let's take Zack Wilson.
So I don't think that, some of the users that are actually watching right now, I don't think they understand like the value, the lifetime value, essentially, where you can actually
apparently
get
the concept of this episode
17 years versus 3 years of production from a stable position. And Zack Wilson's actually in a great spot just because of the efficiency levels of the way the offense operates. When you run a wide zone run scheme that works off the play action, and you have one of the best passers in college for passes 30 yards or more downfield, I mean, it ends up working out, and it's magical when you have Elijah Moore, when you have a Garrett Wilson, even when you have a Corey Davis is like your third option in the passing game, or actually fourth if you include Brees Hall. Like, this could be a magical system for Zack Wilson.
No, it's a really good spot. I mean, who knows? Like, he definitely could be trash. Like, I feel way more confident in Trey Lance's abilities than I do in Zack Wilson's abilities. I felt that way as prospects.
The cost.
But yeah, like the cost is way different. And again, like, if you're a young quarterback in Superflex, if he is good, it's going way up. So you talked about Carr versus Zack Wilson. I don't think it's ridiculous to have Carr out of Zack Wilson. I'm fine with that. No, but this show, we're talking about guys who could explode in value. Derek Carr is not exploding in value. Derek Carr could score more than his ADP. He could be a good pick, but I mean, Derek Carr's value is going to be slightly up, the same, or a little lower, just based on where he's at in the age range in Dynasty.
All right, so let's move on to Josh Jacobs, a guy where it feels like people are just completely on board with Josh Jacobs for now, and then some people.
Oh, Joseph plays one QB. He plays one QB. Says Zack Wilson's a free agent ad. Oh no.
Well, if it's one QB, yeah. I mean, if
it's one QB, then the whole section that we just did is meaningless.
Yeah, honestly, there's not one guy that you should be starting.
There's no point in any. Yeah.
Although Lance, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind Lance.
QB guys.
Lance would probably. I don't know if he'll make it under the waivers, but Lance is a guy I would have. That's the type of quarterback I'd have on my back.
Even in Dynasty and single quarterback, he's definitely rostered.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I mean, Lance is exactly. Lance is like a perfect. Lance Hurts Lance Hurts are like perfect one QB targets, because even if they do suck, like, who cares? It's one QB. So like absolutely go for the upside guys, because like the bust risk is nothing. But more so, just don't play in one QB dynasty. It's lame.
All right, so let's move on to
playing whatever makes it. Corollary.
Shane, come on. You're whatever you pro like. One QB guy on the show.
No, I think one QB is stupid, but if you enjoy it, look, there's lots of things that I don't enjoy in life, but that's what makes the world go round. As long as you're happy
happened to you
and you're doing it with consenting adults, that's what I've always said. As long as it's you and a consenting adult, you do whatever you want. Leave the animals out
It's
of it.
11
do whatever you
other
want.
consenting adults, by the way. So
Look, that's just a good time.
Maybe it's 13. Maybe it's 15. We don't know the size of the league. But
double copies is when it really gets interesting with
usually
adults.
If we were like an American Idol panel, usually the way we sort of operate is like Chase is always the nice one. He's like the Paula Abdul. And Shane's usually the mean one, and I try to be in the middle. But I've really taken on the mean role so far tonight, and Shane is becoming far too nice for my liking.
Wine, baby.
And I'm just neutral. All right, let's go. Let's move on.
Paula.
We got to talk about these running backs, right?
All right, I got one.
Okay.
I got one ready.
All right, so wait. I want to talk about Josh Jacobs first. I just want to
God.
bring up Josh Jacobs and get y'all's heat check on this. I don't really care about whether you think that he's going to explode in value, because I don't think that that's even the case. What's the heat check on Josh Jacobs right now? Because I feel like right now, if he ends up going into the season and gets 20 carries a game for 3 straight games and 5 receptions for 3 straight games, all of a sudden, a team that has a running back that's injured, I mean, you could flip Josh Jacobs for a mid to early first, possibly. Is
Not
that
2023, 2024? Yeah.
I'm thinking 2023 for a team that's desperate.
Not
what's the heat check?
Ooh, yeah, I said it. Not in any of my leagues. Look, I like Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is not a player that I'm buying in this sense because, one, any bump he gets, it's only going to be temporary. And yeah, you're not getting a 23 pick for him. All right, let me say this again. Your league mates, right? Like if people aren't hip to the game and aren't hip to the 23 picks, sure, maybe you can flip Jacobs. The problem is long term, he's not a viable asset because he's a running back. For one, he'll be 24 or 25 after this season. 25 with a ton of mileage on it.
24 season.
And he's wildly inefficient as a receiver. He is not good, which I don't understand because it looks like they took the guy that played at Alabama and kidnapped him and replaced him with like a much slower and wider version of him.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a Jacobs guy. I'll say this for Josh Jacobs. Like, I think that he's not the worst value in the world, which like for most of his dynasty career, I've quite literally said that he is the worst value in the world. So that's new. He's generally ranked in like a similar range as guys that I think are similar archetypes in David Montgomery and Elijah Mitchell. And I will say that I'd rather have Jacobs than them because I think he's flashed a little bit more in the passing game, in my opinion. He doesn't play on the Bears, which is a big plus. He plays on what should be a good offense. So I'm fine with Jacobs. I think I would just rather spend a little less and get higher projecting guys this year that are older, like Fournette, Jones, James Conner, because I don't know what Josh Jacobs' 2023 and beyond looks like. He's in the last year of his deal. They declined his option. I'm sure he'll be like in the league getting touches somewhere, but I'm just not. I just don't know that I see enough future appeal to Jacobs to take him over guys I think will outscore him.
No, but here's the thing. I think the cost with Jacobs is probably actually in that Leonard Fournette range. Like you might
it's
just
higher. It's above those guys.
It shouldn't
is
be.
It?
You almost should just be comparing next year production. Who do you think?
Exactly. That's my stance on it, and that's why I prefer those guys.
And then David Montgomery over all those guys.
No, so do not take
Balls
David
is life.
Montgomery. I'm taking Jacobs over frickin' Montgomery. Oh my god.
Incorrect. He's stupid.
Ball is life. Said he moved Jacobs in a rebuild for AJ Dillon. Which side are you on this one?
I mean, I'm fine with the move, Jacobs. But if I'm rebuilding, I don't want to move from running back to running back. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Like you basically have the grenade in your hand and you just replaced it with another grenade. I get the getting younger thing, although I don't even know their age difference. Based on AJ Dillon's quads, he has to be at least 45 years old, though.
They're the same age. They're the exact same age.
His quads?
No, the same age. Dillon and Jacobs are the same age. So then, yeah, I don't. Yeah, because Dillon came in 1 year later, but Dillon played through to senior year. Jacobs was an early declare.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to get plus. I think you have to get AJ Dillon plus, probably late second.
Yeah.
I think AJ Dillon's a better player. Like I like AJ Dillon more as a football player by a lot, but he's not like. If you tell me, if you are a fortune teller and you've told me that Aaron Jones will get hurt this year for a significant portion of the year, then I like AJ Dillon. But otherwise, I would just go with Josh Jacobs there. But it's a rebuild. The issue with if you have these guys right now and you're rebuilding, right? Which say you were contending, you're looking at your roster now, you're not loving it. This is just not a good time to sell these guys, right? Like by all means, put them on the block. If somebody wants them, sure. give them to them if somebody wants to pay up. But don't feel like this is last chance saloon on selling these guys. Like these guys are going to, I remember last year I had a team where I was looking to ideally rebuild it, and I just wasn't really getting anything much. I was like, well, whatever, I'll just hold these guys into the year. I can sell later. And then I had Aaron Jones as one of those guys. And of course, what does he do in week 2? He has like 1 million points. And then immediately Aaron Jones's market looks a lot better. So once we get in season, the problem with selling guys like Jacobs or Monty or any of these guys right now is if you think about league mates, like what's the market for these guys, right? It's one thing when you're in a startup, but in an active league, what's the market for these guys, right? The problem is if you're rebuilding, you don't want Josh Jacobs, period, right? And then if you're good enough where you're contending and you have a use for Josh Jacobs, like you probably already have 2 running backs better than Josh Jacobs. So you're not looking at your roster being like, man, I got to get Jacobs on my team. But eventually, one of those running backs you have is going to disappoint, or he's going to get injured. Something's going to go wrong. And all of a sudden, Josh Jacobs looks a lot more appealing. So I would be willing to hold these guys into the season and flip them in season if you're rebuilding.
No, I mean, that was my point was, who could actually see an accelerated value rate after a couple games. And I think Jacobs could actually blow up. So I would hold on to him for right now and wait till he actually hits that if you have him. If not, I mean, he would be worth acquiring for mid-second if you can get him for that, for a rebuilding team.
But if you could, by all means.
In 2023, I think you could, because, I mean, you just saw Jacobs go for A.J. Dillon. What is A.J. Dillon's worth for a 2023 pick?
Probably, for 2023, everything is different with 2023.
That's what I'm saying. So
A.J. Dillon is probably like a 2024 first right now in value.
You can get a 24 first for any of these running backs we just mentioned, except for Montgomery. Take it.
I agree. And definitely Montgomery, doubly Montgomery. I would take A.J. Dillon over Montgomery, by the way.
All right, I'm going to let Jacob go ahead and name his guy that he thinks is going to explode, and then we'll go to Shane, and then we'll go to me.
Just real quick, June 1st, I'm not going to be able to make the show.
What the hell, Shane? You're going to give everybody this bad news while we're on a live show?
I got a date.
No way! Oh, no way! Congratulations,
I'll be right back on the show.
Appeal? So everybody's talking about Montgomery. I'm not interested in arguing with Montgomery because he's so boring.
No, I was trying to avoid that question.
But everybody's talking about Montgomery. Just quickly, he's a bad running back who plays on a terrible team, who has a new coaching staff. He's being drafted because a fired coaching staff gave him too much work.
He's a free agent next year.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I wanted to avoid that question. Yeah. So, let's go ahead, Jacob. Let's go to you. Who is your running back that you think is going to explode in value between right now and this time next year?
Oh, of course. It's already been mentioned. It's Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne was a outstanding, remarkable prospect.
Did he take my Travis Etienne take?
You once on this show when he got his foot hurt, you changed your name on the live show to Travis Etienne for any first.
Yeah, you did.
I see no visual evidence of this.
No, Travis Etienne, he was the best prospect of any running back in 2020 and 2021 combined, in my opinion. And he's everything that we want in a fantasy running back, and he's everything we don't have in a fantasy running back. Look through the fantasy running back landscape. We just talked about this morass of mediocrity in the middle of the running back ranks. We got the 2017 class, all these elite backs that are getting old, that people aren't wanting to invest in any longer, or that you see the end of the finish line. The 2019 class is filled with a bunch of jagamuffins like Josh Jacobs and David Montgomery. 2020 class, we're even facing some questions. J.K. Dobbins coming off an injury, doesn't see a lot of pass work. Cam Akers coming off a devastating injury, doesn't see a lot of pass work. Clyde Edwards Hilaire, total bust, right? Antonio Gibson all of a sudden is getting added competition. So who is this guy other than waiting for the 23 class that might actually be this all-purpose running back? It's Travis Etienne. His number one competition for touches, of course, James Robinson, as a later injury than he got and a worse injury than he got. Only other competition in the backfield right now is a dude named Snoop Connor, who, if you knew him like a month ago, congratulations to you. You are a very wise dynasty manager. So Travis Etienne, he has the all-purpose skill set. In passing game, he has the athleticism. There's injury risk, but if he comes out and if he comes out this year, right, and first 2, 3, 4 weeks, oh my God, he's getting all the work. James Robinson either looks bad or he's not even playing from the injury, whatever else. And all of a sudden people aren't going to be worried about the foot. Where is he going to rank in dynasty rankings? Because he's way younger than every other running back that he'd be outscoring. He will potentially be in the similar role as DeAndre Swift, as that pass catching role, potentially splitting rush work, maybe even getting more rush work. He's younger than Najee Harris. He's not splitting work with Melvin Gordon like Javonte Williams. He's probably in a better, potentially, possibly in a better offense than Brees Hall. Doesn't have somebody taking away the pass work potentially, like a Michael Carter. And then Christian McCaffrey, we mentioned, as the injury issues. I could see him getting all the way to RB2 overall in Dynasty by the end of September. So I'm all in on Travis Etienne.
And you always have been. Unfortunately, got injured last year and pretty much ruined every chance that he had to do it. But I mean, we're looking at Travis Etienne right now, like we could be looking at Brees Hall next year. Very similar situations, depending what happens with the Jets. And I mean, I like Etienne a lot. He's, one of my favorite veterans to try and target right now. I completely support that. Shane, are you on board with Etienne?
Yeah, love Etienne. His it's crazy. His ADP is held steady over a full year with a Lisfranc. I guess it's called a sprain no matter what, but a Lisfranc injury, which is pretty much a pretty devastating injury, except that it's always happened to old people, so we don't really know how it affects the youngs, like Travis Etienne. I was in on Travis Etienne, and then I was happened to read PFF today, and I know this isn't how you pronounce his name, but I prefer to pronounce his name this way. Sam Monsoon was talking about quarterbacks. I know it's incorrect, but I prefer to call him Monsoon. He was just he wrote an article about check down, quarterbacks that check down, and guess who's has the highest rate of check down passes last year? The only quarterback to break a 10% check down rate.
I imagine it's Trevor. Is it
Trevor?
Trevor?
Well, with Drew Brees out, we also see Phillip Rivers out.
Trevor.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, that one of the quote unquote flaws that people had with his receiving profile in college with Etienne was they said, look, he's actually not that dynamic of a route runner. He was just really good in space, and he got all these checkdowns. But who was his college quarterback giving him all those checkdowns?
Exactly. Yeah. Look, if Etienne's foot is close to being correct, close to being right, look, he was my favorite running back last year, and nothing will change this year. He will absolutely destroy stuff. He'll definitely slide up a lot. And I'm looking at Kenneth Walker. Somehow Kenneth Walker is the RB17. What are we doing, people?
I think it's smart. All right, let's go on to.
I mean, there's a guy who could theoretically explode. I don't love Kenneth Walker, as we know, but I mean, that's a guy, right? That's another guy that could explode up the board.
I'm kind of shocked that he only is at RB17, to be honest. I thought that he was a lot higher than that.
I've seen him dropping in rookie drafts.
Where is he RB17 on? Like what site is that?
I'm looking on DLF.
Okay. I think on KTC is a lot higher.
Is he? Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of trades. Like pretty much all I've seen out of Kenneth Walker recently is like him in rookie drafts. And
I made that up. He was RB17 actually, not 19. But same thing.
You said 17.
Okay, yeah, you said 17.
And in my leagues, at least in my leagues, I think Walker goes a lot later in my leagues than he does in most leagues. Like I've seen the ADP tracking sheet that has him pretty rock even with Drake London for the 1-2. And in my leagues, he's pretty often going at the 1-5. But that's because everyone in my leagues hates running backs. I'm in some Facebook leagues, so he's going 1-2 and pretty much every draft I've been in. I bet the Facebook people are like, wait, Brees Hall has caught a pass before. He's out. Gotta jam Kenneth Walker with the 1-1.
No, he's the 102 in everyone. All right, so Shane, do you have another running back, or do you want me to move on with one of the ones I have suggested?
No, you just move in. I did no prep whatsoever, so I'm just going to piggyback off what you guys say and either trash you or find reasons as to why you're correct.
So CEH is falling outside of the top 120 right now. Like you have to draw the line somewhere. We're talking about
where's Ronald Jones?
Likely,
yeah, I've drawn the line. CEH is gone. There's nothing. He's gone.
Oh, so you're drawing the line on the other side. So wait, Shane, do you have DLF up right now?
Yeah.
Can you look up the difference between the Ronald Jones ADP and the CEH ADP? But I mean, either way, CEH.
Will I get canceled if I say that I would rather have Ronald Jones?
You shouldn't, considering their cost. Clyde Edwards Hilaire is the RB28 and Ronald Jones is the RB47. And I think I'd rather have
at that price. Yeah,
Jones.
I guess I've been doing a little bit too much best ball, and I've seen him fall outside the 120th overall pick. And it's like at that point, you're talking about 11th round running back, like CH could end up in the passing role. We talked about Tyreek Hill being gone, which was utilized in the short passing game. It's like I just feel like there has to be some sort of receiving value there, even if he's a third down back. We're talking about J.D. McKissic.
Here's a crazy stat about CH's receiving value. So Ronald Jones, we all know that Ronald Jones is not a good receiver, right? We're aware of this.
Yeah, he's so bad.
Right, not good. So where would you guess last year that Ronald Jones ranked in yards per route run?
Oh God, no! Don't tell me.
Right, it's not high. Like it's gonna be
4.1.
It's gonna be about what you think. Sorry.
No, wait. I'm sorry. No, yards per route run. Like
Where does he
1.2.
rank?
Oh, I wasn't looking. I don't know the number. I'm looking for the rank.
Yeah, as a ranking, I'm guessing around 30th.
Oh, he was
I think it's
79th.
Yeah, I was about to say he's way lower than that.
Okay,
30th.
so knowing that, where do you think Clyde Edwards-Hilaire finished in yards per route run? Elite receiving back, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire.
106th.
Oh, he was 78th. He was one spot above, directly back to back with Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
But is that because Patrick Mahomes doesn't?
No, Darrell Williams did a great job of yards per route run.
What was his yards per route run?
It was like 1.31 or something. He was in the top 20.
Okay, God.
The thing about Clyde Edwards-Hilaire is that he's bad. But I'm trying to force myself to take him some in best ball, solely because like I remember last year when it was Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, and it was like, okay, well, Ronald Jones is the better player. Leonard Fournette is like really inefficient and kind of dusty. And so I took some of both, but I took more Rojo. And looking back, like, do I think that Bruce Arians just like hates Ronald Jones and me and made a wise football decision? No, I don't think he made a wise football decision. I think he's a hater. But that being said, trying to be consistent to caring about ceiling, you know, I should look at it. It's like, okay, if this player pays off, how much can they pay off? And like, we know Ronald Jones is there to only play on early downs ever. Like Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, even though he has not been effective or used in that area so far, has some theoretical passing down upside. So I do think that we should probably prefer CH, but he just is not good. Like he's not good as a rusher. He's not good as a receiver, and he's not good as a pass blocker. And if you're not good at any of those things, then I'm sorry, but you're just not good.
All right.
He actually faced, here's another great Clyde stat, by the way. He had the most
Shane, I just showed these.
He had the most line yards per attempt and the highest PFF run blocking grade of any qualified running back. And he had the lowest explosive run rate among all qualified running backs.
Well, he's not an explosive running back. He's just going to get you, 5 yards at a time.
Right. So he had the most amount of blocked yards for him and then never did anything with
That's so bad. That's so bad. So let's move on to Shane's favorite running back, running back that's been supporting his team. And, actually, I feel like could actually see an increase in efficiency, although he was extremely efficient last year. He just couldn't stay on the field. Miles Sanders, one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL. There's nothing to sit there and be more frustrated with than Miles Sanders, because he's been really good when he's able to stay on the field and when he gets the ball. The issue is he's never on the field and he never gets the ball. So Miles Sanders, they're huge issues, but there's no such thing as injury prone. That's a big thing. And so Miles Sanders with AJ Brown on the field, with Devonta Smith on the field, with Quez Watkins, with Dallas Goedert, like defense are going to have a lot to worry about. And Jalen Hurts, not to mention. Will Miles Sanders, even if he doesn't get the ball enough, will he actually see an increase in value because his efficiency gets even better than what it was before? Shane, you're up.
Again, so here's the issue with running backs, right? All the ones we want to explode or to have a really great year, their value is not going to increase. One, because of the 2023 class, and two, because they're like Miles Sanders and they're going to be 26. And there's people much smarter than me, and then also people like me that continue to show you that 26 is not the age you want to be buying running back at. Like you don't want to do that.
You said there are people much smarter than me, and then there's people like me.
Yeah, and then there's also people that aren't.
What he's saying is that there's people that are smart that are doing that, and even the dumb people that figure it out.
I know, that's why it was so funny.
Like we've all figured it out. Like I don't think it's a secret. 26-year-old running backs, bad investment, especially ones that have never been elite. I love Miles Sanders as a talent. I thought he could have been elite, but it's not to be. Now, if I'm buying him just based off what I think he could do upside production wise, I'm all for that. Because on that Eagles offense, if he could try to score a touchdown sometime, I do believe he could have a really good singular season.
I do feel like with CH and Miles Sanders, there's some comparisons, right? Like they both at one point in time had all this hype of being a clear top 10 dynasty running back, and then they've just like failed in weird ways, right? Like they've gotten tons of touchdowns called back from holding. They've gotten injured at inopportune times. Their coaches like play them in these weird low leverage situation roles. So it's like, even when they're getting 60% of the snaps, you feel like they're never getting any of the important touches. They're just getting like carries between the 20s.
The Jalen
so I feel like there's all
corollary.
These like similar, sorry?
The Jalen Guyton corollary.
Yeah. So I feel like there's been so many similarities between these two backs. The difference is that Miles Sanders is actually good. And so between the two, I would take Miles Sanders. And that Philly offense, I think, is going to be awesome. Like,
I'm excited
not
for it.
Super sure that Jalen Hurts is a good passer, but I think he's not a bad passer. And if he has AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, if he can just be an okay passer, and then also use what he can do with his legs to open up space and open up gaps in the run game, like, Miles Sanders is going to have so much room to run. He already had a really, really light box count rate last year. I think he had the highest expected rush yards per carry last year, which is part of why his efficiency was so good. And when you consider how they're going to spread the field with wide receivers, when you consider how defense are going to have to account for Jalen Hurts being able to keep the ball and pull the ball down, like, he's going to average a lot of yards per carry. And if they could use him more of a goal line role, they added nobody, really, right? I mean, they added nobody. They re-signed Boston Scott. Kenny Gainwell's still there, who was mostly just a pass down back. I don't think Miles Sanders is ever going to be a passing down specialist. I think he's demonstrated why that's not his game. But he can be
Kenny Gainwell was like the goal line back, essentially. Kenny Gainwell.
No, that's the thing. Like, he wasn't even. Role. He wasn't even like Sanders still Sanders still got most of the inside the 20 touches, but he just couldn't score on them. And then other guys would like sometimes get them, or like it was just.
And they had a wide open hole where he just like literally
stuff.
skipped into the end zone. I'll never forget that because I love Kenny Gainwell and I wanted to root for him, but I'm like, dude, like, the hole was so big for him. Why didn't they give it?
But the thing is, though, that Sanders did have holes like that. He unfortunately has vision like me. And just honestly, there was at least 4 touchdowns that were his own fault, like just simplistic, just not hitting a hole or going. But that's besides the point.
All right, so let's hop on to. I'm going to skip Rachaad White because we talked about Rachaad White last week. If you all want to hear about Rachaad White, there's plenty of clips on there. I actually put one on YouTube of one of our breakdowns. You guys can go check it out, youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Go check out what we had to say about Rachaad White. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to hop on to wide receiver. I want to talk about Juju because Juju, everybody hates him so much that I feel like the pendulum swung in a complete opposite direction of where it can be in an offense that is extremely creative and extremely open and features the right players at the right times. Everything the complete opposite of what the Steelers have done with Juju since his first year in the league. Can Juju actually make a splash big enough to be able to move him for a piece that you want, whether it's a rebuilding team or anything like that, by this time next year? Like, do we see an explosion in his value?
Yes, because there's a large contingent of Juju truthers out there that refuse to give up the ghost.
So many Juju truthers.
As a recovering Juju truther, I get it. You know what I mean? It's hard. Once it's in your veins, it's really hard to kick the habit. But I did it, and if I did it, other people could do it too. I believe in them, but they won't. They won't. If Juju goes out there and has 3 or 4 100-yard games next year, the hype is going to be absurd. It's going to be absurd.
What's the name of that fake drug in the Archie comics? Jingle Jangle. It's like Juju Jangle. That's what people are snorting out there. Look, I am not a Juju truther. I've never been a Juju truther. I think that Juju is good at like a very limited thing, which is that he is a decent yak player, although he hasn't been as good creating after the catch in recent years as he was early in his career. But I think that he's a capable yards after the catch player. He's fine in like the short and intermediate area, but he's never been good at beating man coverage. He's never been good at beating press coverage. He's never been successful on any sort of downfield routes. He had a role in 2018 where everything coalesced for him, where he was able to get 1 million targets because they literally broke an NFL record for pass attempts. They had Antonio Brown drawing a lot of coverage, and he was able to feast in this, short area role, doing things that he was good at and then creating a lot after the catch, and power to him on that. But yeah, I think we know what he is at this point. The thing is, just like in Kansas City, yeah, I think it's possible that what he is, limited as it may be, could be very successful because it's a great offense. And, we don't know what else they have. Travis Kelsey's going to do Travis Kelsey things. I'm not an MVS guy. Like, I know some people are really hyped on MVS. They're saying he got more money. He's not good. Like, he's going to do what he does. He's going to stretch the field. And Sky Moore is an unknown. I like Sky Moore a lot as a prospect. We don't know what we're going to get out of him this year. I think Juju will do what he always does, but 20% of the targets, 20% of the air yards in a KC offense. Sure. Why couldn't that be a high end wide receiver 2 season? That's possible. I won't be the one buying into that, but the people who think that he's better than he is, they absolutely will.
All right, let's hop on to your favorite receiver as of late. It wasn't your favorite receiver out the draft, but it has been lately. Yeah. Young Njoku. Let's talk about him, Jacob. You're up.
Yeah, I love what Toney's profile is. I mean, here's the thing: when you get into this range, like Toney's.
Hey, not everybody knows who Young Njoku is, so make sure.
It's Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Jabroni. Look, when you get outside the top 40 wide receivers, like what you have to realize is that most of these guys at this point, surpassing ADP, scoring some points is just not that useful unless you're playing in like start 12 leagues or start 13 leagues, right? Once you're getting into this range, it's like you look at it, guys like a Christian Kirk or a Michael Gallup. It's like, how much are these guys really helping you? Like, how much is 12 points per game helping you? Not a whole lot. Like, that's really not that different than guys that you can get even cheaper, like a Marquez Valdes-Scantling, for instance. So in that range, like, I'm really only looking at upside. It doesn't really matter to me what the likelihood of hitting it. It doesn't really matter what the floor is. It's purely an upside bet. And Toney, I mean, the sample was minuscule, but in that tiny sample, he showed us a lot of good stuff. He had the second highest targets per route run in the entire league last year. He did it running routes both inside and outside. And it's not even entirely just the one Dallas game. It's a big part of it because it was a small sample, but he had a really impressive performance in the Saints game. There was other games like I forget who. It was one later in the season where he had, I think, like 12 targets or something. It didn't amount to anything. It might have been the Panthers game, but I could be wrong on that. Had a bunch of targets, didn't amount to anything because the offense sucked. But it's a guy who potentially could earn a lot of targets. They're going to run, I think, a lot of 4 wide receiver sets in Buffalo. So whether they want to play him inside or outside, I think he'll be on the field a lot. And is it possible that he'll just keep getting injured or that he'll, leave football to pursue a rap career or won't show up to a game on time? All these things seem very possible.
Everything seems to be going smooth as of late.
Of late, exactly. And to me, it's like almost the good news that he had gotten that knee scope, because what was he going to do showing up to those voluntary practices anyways with a knee scope? What was he going to do? Stand around and say hi to people on the way in? No,
he might have said a few words. Just saying.
So I think Toney is a really fun buy because his cost is an opportunity cost of guys who are more likely to hit but are less likely to matter. And if you're looking for a guy who, what if the small sample from last year is real and what if he can stay healthy? That's a guy who can actually matter. So I'm all in on the Njoku.
Shane?
But Jacob just put a nail in it and hammered it to death. You're looking for upside there, right? You're not looking like, which guy's going to score 13 points and which guy's going to score 12. Like, I think this guy's going to score 12.8 points. So I want him a lot more than the dude that's going to score 11.9. No, I want the dude like Kadarius Toney that, sure, his bottom might be, cut by the Giants in week 6 because, he left his playbook on the opposing team's, bench or whatever. But yeah, the upside is he's going to put up just ridiculous numbers.
All right, let's hop on to this next receiver that I want to talk about. This one's, really shots fired for Jacob. Paris Campbell, Jacob.
Yeah.
Paris Campbell is finally healthy. He's finally had over a year recover. And since
5 minutes.
Injury prone does not exist, Jacob. I want you to tell me why you're off of Paris Campbell when he was a great prospect coming in, but injury prone isn't a thing.
The issue is Campbell has never really been good either, right? So with Paris Campbell, he was not a good prospect, and then he barely played in his rookie year. He earned a little bit of targets on his rookie year, but it was on an 8 out of negative yardage because he was just getting gadget plays. And then he had one fantastic game in week 1 of 2020. I'll never take that away from him ever. I was so excited. For people who don't know, I'm a Colts fan. I was like, oh my God, he's arrived. Ballard got this one right. And then he immediately got hurt for the entire season on the first drive of the next game. And last year, that what people forget, unfortunately, is I was open to the idea of Campbell last year, just based on the fact that he did flash a little bit of target earning potential in that game and in first year. And it was a really wide open depth chart. We didn't really know what Pittman was either last year. He didn't show anything last year. He was on the field playing for the first half of the year until he got hurt, and he wasn't commanding snaps. He was a rotational slot wide receiver. He was playing less snaps than Zach Pascal. And when he was on the field, he wasn't doing that much with it. So I would love to see him healthy. I would love to see him perform. I'm rooting for the guy. It would be great if he could help out for my team because, I mean, frankly, again, they really don't have much except for Michael Pittman, but it's not very likely that this guy turns into a fantasy reliable piece. I think at best, he turns into a guy who's like helpful to an NFL team, which I think, frankly, would be a big win for where his careers had to go through.
Hey, he has 4 receptions of over 20 yards over the previous 4 full games that he's played in the
which
NFL.
Is like probably half of his receptions in that time.
Yeah, probably. Actually, I think it's like 30% of his reception percentage. And for those that are watching, I just like to drive a nail into Jacob's heart just as much as he just drove a nail into Kadarius Toney, because Jacob loves every receiver the Colts have on their roster currently. He couldn't be more ecstatic being a Colts fan to have Paris Campbell.
This is the rubber
Alec
match.
Pierce,
I always say
Michael
this is the rubber match because, so John's bringing up that Paris Campbell had the high Lance grade. I mean, obviously film people liked Campbell. That's why he went where he did.
Well, he also broke out at age 18.
And then nothing else.
And then
literally no other
player with 0 seasons over 30% market share receiving yards. Just like a total bust analytic profile. Now, obviously, film people liked what he was able to provide, but the analytical profile, in my opinion, sucked. It actually reminds me a lot of Alec Pierce's analytical profile. Anyway, basically, I've said this is the rubber match because when they picked Paris Campbell, I was so upset that they took Campbell over DK Metcalf, and then AJ Brown was already gone, but they could have taken him where they took Rock Ya-Sin. That I went into a bathroom, I left a work dinner, and I punched a hole through a wall, and then came back, and then obviously I won that one because Campbell sucks. I didn't like the Pittman pick either, but Ballard gets this one, and the Pierce pick sucks too. But this is our rubber match, Chris. I feel so bad for Joseph to have to live with such a boring family that he would spend 51 minutes listening to a broadcast that he says is terrible. His life must be so hard that he was like, oh my God, like my wife is so mean to me, or husband, I don't judge. My wife is so mean to me that I have to spend 52 minutes listening to a broadcast I hate. That's hard. I would be
Shane.
angry too.
I think
if
Shane blocked him.
existence.
Shane, you shouldn't have blocked him.
I blocked. He's just a troll.
I wanted him to hear that. I had that joke
I know.
ready.
I wanted him to keep coming. Just throw him at us.
Weak. I was trying to ignore him with his weak ass fantasy football takes. I'm in 1 quarterback league. Shut up, stupid. All right, get out of here. Come on. I hate being that. Never mind. Just whatever. Sorry.
All right, let's move on to the tight ends. We'll fly through these real quick because I still want to play this little game with you guys. We have David Njoku, who absolutely could explode in value. What is his tight end ADP right now?
Consider him tight end. So everyone outside of the tight ends who matter are just tight end 6 to 1 million.
Exactly. I was about to say tight end, not Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews.
But I'm saying his ADP though has to be down low. Like that's a free shot, right?
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing: a lot of tight ends in that range are, but they also don't carry the upside that David Njoku carries. And again, David Njoku carries the upside because of the athleticism and the yards per reception, and his skill set. He's a down the field type of player when he's not bouncing balls off of his hands. So that's why he has upside, as opposed to Tyler Conklin is probably lower than him in ADP. Tyler Conklin gave you some very nice 7.9 fantasy weeks last year where he gave you top 12 tight end weeks where it was like, wow, great. I got a top 12 tight end week out of Tyler Conklin. But what's it worth? 8 points. David Njoku is one of those guys that he might drop a 30 piece on someone. He might not score for 4 weeks in a row, but he might score 30 points too.
I mean, he actually has an ADOT. There are almost no tight ends who get the degree of downfield work that David Njoku has. I never
that's just how this offense operates.
Well, also that's how they used him in Miami too, though.
Because he's an athletic freak. Right? I mean, he's a really
built.
Athletic.
He runs like a wide receiver. He just happens to be built like a tight end, like Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I never ever look at things like ADOT or Whopper or anything like that. And his ADOT actually doesn't look as great because he basically gets 2 plays in Cleveland. He gets literally 2. He either gets the seam route down the middle for about 20 yards or it's a tight end screen. And so those balance out to a very mediocre ADOT. But if you just look at the percentage of downfield targets he gets, it's really high among tight ends. because he's not running these shallow crossers. I mean, the thing that he hasn't had is routes, because they had to give Austin Pooper a bunch of routes. For some reason, they gave Harrison Bryant a bunch of routes. But now that Pooper's out of town and they might be running more of an 11 personnel offense, they still need an explosive threat over the middle, because Amari Cooper, he's going to do what he's going to do on the outside. And they have Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is going to run wind sprints off the flank position. But their slot wide receiver is probably David Bell. And David Bell's not an explosive player. He's the intermediate player. But David Njoku can run those deep routes down the seam. And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch this year. I think he's going to have probably 70 to 80% of the routes. Potentially, they're working on a contract that would pay him $13 million a year. And I only care about follow the money narratives when it confirms my priors. But in this case, it does.
So, no, I mean, they've always, this offense, Kevin Stefanski's always used 2 tight ends, right? We have him using Kyle Rudolph prior to. He brings in Hooper. They run the same exact offense regardless. And Harrison Bryant's going to be the red zone target. He's going to be the short yardage type guy and the blocker in the majority of the situations. But let's move on to Dalton Schultz.
I don't think you draft David Bell if you don't want to run 11 personnel, because Bell's a slot only player, in my opinion.
Yeah. That means
they drafted him. They drafted. You literally said this verbatim. You were like, hey, they drafted him with a compensatory pick in the end of the 3rd round. If they didn't draft him, who knows how far he would have fallen, because at that point he was a luxury to the team. He was a luxury pick for the team. I don't think they needed him.
Well, they still drafted him. I just, to me, like, you have Desean Watson coming in. Everything of how they ran their offense to me means nothing to me. This is a new era. If Desean Watson is not going to play, if he's going to miss the whole season and it's Jacoby Brissett, who knows? But to me, if it's Desean Watson, they're going to build an offense around Desean Watson. I do not think Desean Watson is a very good person. I do think he's a very good quarterback. And I think that they're going to build an offense around his skill set. And yeah, David Bell.
Wait, so you're saying that Kirk Cousins is not Desean Watson?
I am going to say that Kirk Cousins is not Desean Watson. That's true. But I just think when you look at this team, when you look at Bell, right, to me, that pick signals something. I don't think it's a lock that Bell is great or that Bell is going to, start and have all that. I like David Bell as a prospect, but to me, that pick still shows us an intention, because, and the other guy, by the way, that it was reported they were going to take was John Mechie. John Mechie's also projects as a slot wide receiver. So to me, they were looking for a slot wide receiver.
I didn't see that report. That's a great report.
And you look at what, they get Amari Cooper. He's going to play on the outside. Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Anthony Schwartz. These guys are clear, like, Z field stretchers, right? So to me, they were looking for the Y. And this team, has had more versatile players. They've tried to play Landry in the past. But I don't know. I think if you're in the market for a Mechie, if you're in the market for Bell, that tells me you want to play a slot wide receiver on a pretty high percentage of the snaps. And I think that then they let Austin Hooper go. They don't replace him. So it's just Njoku and Bryant. I think we're going to see a lot of 11, not exclusively. We're still going to see Harrison Bryant. We're still going to see 12 personnel, but I think we're going to see a lot more 11 personnel.
All right. So I'm going to actually compare these two instead of, sitting there asking you guys to take or to talk about each one of these guys individually. Dalton Schultz and Irv Smith Jr. I believe they're both on the last year of their contract. Dalton Schultz got a 1-year extension. Irv Smith Jr. is going into the last year of his rookie deal. Who do you think comes out on top in terms of ADP come 2023?
Between Elijah Mitchell and who, sorry?
No. Irv, what?
I don't know why I heard Elijah Mitchell.
Dalton Schultz and Irv Smith Jr.
Oh, Dalton Schultz. What is this? Dalton Schultz.
Irv Smith, I will say Irv Smith is a tight end that I like. And again, let's air quote that, like, as a cheaper tight end, just because his hype was so high a year and a half ago.
Based on very little. But
I know. So if he does anything, if my man gets 500 receiving yards, dude, 2023 is the breakout.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Dalton Schultz is actually pretty good. Like, Dalton Schultz's target rate last year was 22%. CeeDee Lamb's was 24. Cooper's was 21. Who's to say that Dalton Schultz doesn't get a lot of the targets that Cooper leaves behind? We're now looking at Dalton Schultz as a guy who actually earned a decent amount of targets last year. Like I said, 22% target rate. His target share was 17% because for the first month of the season, they were still doing a tight end platoon with Blake Jarwin. Jarwin seems like possibly never going to play football again. It's unfortunate that his career got derailed by injuries. But for Dalton Schultz's sake, he's going to be running, I think, probably 90% of the routes this year, 80% of the routes. So his target rate's probably going to look a lot more like his target share. And you look around, Cooper's gone. Gallup, when are we going to see Gallup? I would guess not week 1. Jalen Tolbert as a rookie, is he a week 1 contributor? James Washington, he's never done much of anything. I think Dalton Schultz is going to be, the clear second target. And I don't think he's even going to trail CeeDee Lamb that far behind in terms of raw target volume, in a good offense. I think Dalton Schultz could easily be a top 5 tight end this year, quite honestly.
I moved Dalton Schultz ahead of Mark Andrews. I know Shane saw that. I don't know if Jacob did. Moved him ahead of Mark Andrews in Dynasty.
What?
Yeah,
what?
I sure did.
Why do you have to have these? What? Why?
There are not that many hot takes that I have.
Jacob, sometimes it's better not to ask why, because it just hurts your brain.
What? Didn't Mark Andrews what about Mark Andrews' season last year? Didn't you enjoy?
You don't like what I've said because we've already brought it up once.
The hyper efficiency, the fact that he's been efficient his whole career, and he finally got a.
You don't like that he has 30% target rates every year?
No, I don't like his snap share because he can't stay healthy. So let's move on to.
Wait, when was Mark Andrews injured?
What? Mark Andrews has been hurt constantly.
He's got diabetes, bro.
There's a reason why he doesn't see a significant snap share for the majority of his career. Why they use a different tight end to help block on running situations because they don't want to get
or maybe they're intelligent.
How many
this guy's really good at
how many career games do you think Mark Andrews has? How many career games do you think Mark Andrews has missed in 4 years?
I think he's at like 6 or 7.
He's at 3. He's missed 3. He's missed less than 1 game.
Yeah, but he's also exited multiple games early.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
Well, maybe he's so far he has missed, let's see, 2 games in 2020, and the week before that he played 87% of snaps, so he didn't leave too early there. Week 19 he missed 1 game, and it was the last game of the season when they rested their starters.
I will get it up here in a second. Let's move on to some of these players who are lottery picks. I really did move him up in my rankings. I think Schultz is tight end 4 now. All right, so
wait. Okay, so I don't even think tight. Okay, I mean I don't agree, but Schultz tight end 4 is less ridiculous. But the idea that Mark Andrews is anything but tight end 1 or tight end 2 is frankly offensive.
Big on Mark Andrews.
Well, but that's baseless. he just had the best tight end.
Let's play your game. Let's play your silly game.
All right, some of these players are lottery tickets, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are either actively trying to acquire them or trying to move off of them in most cases. Maybe you're not trying to acquire them at all, but I do want to bring some of these guys up because I think that they're worth either acquiring or moving on from. Davis Mills is the first one I'm going to start off with. Do you guys think that Davis Mills is actually going to perform at a high level in 2022? Or do you think he's going to end up getting replaced by the end of 2023 and pretty much just, worth junk at that point?
There's a whole extreme range of possibilities in between there. And I think he's probably closer to he'll be an effective game manager who does just enough where you go, I guess he can start, but not enough that you go, yeah, he's a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's going to do both. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to be serviceable. But yeah, the problem with Davis Mills is he's not a dynamic player, right? So the bar on him, not just in fantasy, but in real life, the bar on him to be, to retain his job is higher because he's not going to be a guy like Trey Lance or Jalen Hurts that can resort to scrambling around and making things happen on the fly. He can't make the defense play 11 on 11. He has to be a precision elite passer. And Davis Mills probably isn't going to be that, right? If he probably was going to be that, he would have been drafted higher. I like some of what I saw last year, but the problem with Davis Mills too is that he can play awesome. This team will still suck, right? Yeah. Desean Watson led the entire NFL in yards per attempt in his last season in Houston. They won 4 games, right? This team is bad beyond what Davis Mills can or can't do. So they're going to have the opportunity to replace him, even if he plays well. And I just think he has to play so well that they won't exercise that opportunity. Looking at the chance to draft a new stud quarterback on a rookie contract in a class people like, it's tough. I'll root for the kid for sure because I think he showed some stuff last year. And maybe he gets a shot elsewhere if he performs well. But it's hard for me to envision him sticking in Houston outside of a phenomenal season.
So you're off, or you guys are both off of Mills.
I'm off Mills, yeah.
I mean, he's cheap enough, whatever. I give up a second round pick in a super flex league. Sure.
So it depends.
Second round pick.
Okay, that's fine.
Estimated late to mid second round pick. Are you acquiring or selling?
Yeah, because that's where all the quarterbacks who just got drafted in round 3 in this draft just went.
Literally,
I'll certainly take Mills over them.
Yeah, yes to both, because it depends on the roster. Quite honestly, if I have 4 quarterbacks, he's my QB4. Sure, I'll sell him off. If he's my QB3, probably not. I'm thinner than I need to be.
Here's where I'm at with Mills.
Good.
Like, I'm fine with Davis Mills if the price is based on what he's going to do this year, right? Because I think he's not even in that bad of a spot. Like, the defense is awful, so he's going to have to pass whether his team wants to or not. He has Brandon Cooks. He's got a few, like, semi-interesting pieces around, and Nico and Mechie and Brevin that can help him with a little bit of fantasy utility. So, sure. But, like, if I have to pay more for Mills than I do for, like, a Goff or the next guy we're going to talk about, who I think the market has decided is more of a one-year option, then I don't really want to pay that tax because I don't think that's likely to happen.
All right, Davis Mills or Daniel Jones, Shane?
I reject the premise.
So Daniel Jones is the next topic that we want to talk about. Are we buying or selling Daniel Jones?
Did you see John's comment? I might have missed it. I'm dying.
I'm not big on Jonathan Taylor.
Daniel Jones, yeah, I mean, I'd probably buy him over Davis Mills because, again, the rushing upside that exists there. I don't think he's good, but it wouldn't be the first time I don't think someone's good and they prove me wrong, although he's had 4 years to do so and he hasn't done it yet. But, look.
I don't know. I can't quit Daniel Jones. And I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say can't quit because I've never really been in on him. But for the first time, after watching him be bad for 4 years, I'm now kind of in on him.
This is it. This is the take I'm at right now.
He's so cheap. And I think the market is pretty much viewing him as a total lame duck. And I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing. If he's good, he's actually going to be good in fantasy, right? So you get the double payoff. My issue with Davis Mills is, like, the best case scenario is I'm getting like Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, right? Because he's not a rushing threat. Whereas with Daniel Jones, like, because of what he can do on the ground, like, if in the rare instance he's actually good, like, he's for sure a fantasy QB1 if he's actually a good passer. And then you look at what Dable was able to implement in Buffalo, and I'm not going to say Daniel Jones is Josh Allen. I'm not going to say that. But I do think they're going to run a lot of 10 personnel. They're going to pass a lot. They're going to play with pace. They're going to use Daniel Jones's rushing ability in more creative ways with designed rush attempts. So when you look at that, he's just in a spot where, like, if he can't play, then he can't play and nothing's going to save him. But if he can, everything else is in his favor. And so that ceiling is just hard for me to pass up. And then if he does hit and he sticks around, he stays in this awesome spot with this team that I think is finally getting, like, can you have a bigger coaching upgrade, man, from going from Joe Judge and Jason Garrett to Brian Dable? Like, it's a change from complete mass and competence to not just competence, but fantasy-friendly competence. And so for anyone listening to this in audio, I don't even know if there is still an audio, but if you're watching this header that we have to Chiron, sure. Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, QB1 in Dynasty in 2 years.
He's more like Mitch Trubisky. I couldn't agree more. No, but I mean, Dable has.
And if Mitch Trubisky was in the situation, I'd be buying him too, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I love it. Let's go ahead and move on to the running back position with Kareem Hunt. And the reason why I bring Kareem Hunt up is everybody thinks that he's going to get traded. Like, that's all that Twitter talks about. Anytime Kareem Hunt comes up, it's not about how well he did while playing with Nick Chubb, by the way. Like, when he plays with Nick Chubb, he's great. But everybody thinks that for some reason they're going to get rid of talent. I don't know why, to move on and sell Kareem Hunt. Jacob, you can start out with this one.
What they're doing is a little bit insane. Like, just on a lot of fronts. Like, so I think Kareem Hunt is a really talented player, and he's on a really good contract. The part that's insane is, like, it just makes no sense to have all the 3 running backs they have and draft Jerome Ford. Like, what are they doing? like what they
special teams,
done,
bro.
They already had Kareem Hunt on a really good contract. Honestly, like, probably the smart move is just let Nick Chubb walk instead of paying him, a much larger contract. Whatever. I get it. Nick Chubb, fantastic player. Okay, you're paying Nick Chubb. Okay, now that you've chosen to pay Nick Chubb, you can't pay a complimentary running back $6 million also. Okay, fine. You're paying $18 million combined for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You don't pay Dearness Johnson $2.5 million too to be your third string. What is happening? Like when they made that tender offer for Dearness, I was like, well, they have to get rid of Hunt now. Not just because there's no way you're paying $2.5 million for a third string running back. But I don't know. Apparently they are. It's strange. But like you said, Hunt is pretty good with Chubb. He has got a really fantastic role when Chubb's out. And when Chubb does play, he still gets all the receiving work, and he gets actually a good amount of goal line work. So I can see buying Kareem Hunt because he has multiple paths to value. He has, he's certainly not there next year, right? So he has potential value next year somewhere else. He has potential value if he's traded or released. He has potential value if Chubb gets hurt. And worst case scenario, he's probably still a back-end RB2, even with everybody still around. And interestingly, I know I'm getting long-winded, but interestingly, when we've seen this now for a couple of years, when Chubb goes out, Hunt basically just becomes the bell cow. When Hunt goes out, Dearness keeps pretty much all of Hunt's receiving role, a little bit of the short yardage role, and then just none of the other mixing in between the 20s. So like Dearness gets like 75% of Hunt's role, but he doesn't get 75% of Chubb's role. He doesn't get anything close to it. So Hunt's contingent value, like Hunt with Chubb out, is actually a better asset than Chubb with Hunt out, even though when both are healthy, Chubb is the better asset.
Yeah, it's so weird how they treat it. And I think that Hunt actually got the extension first and then vouched for Chubb to get the extension. And then they end up putting a tender on Dearness Johnson,
That's
which
the
I think was
wacky
crazy.
part. And I'm like a Dearness Johnson truther. Like I think the kid can play. I totally get paying him $2.4 million. But not your third string. You don't pay anybody $2.4 million for your third string.
Shane, Kareem Hunt, I know you're very excited to talk about him. You've been excited the whole episode to talk about Kareem Hunt. I'm pretty sure this is like what you've been shaking this entire time to talk about. We couldn't get here fast enough, and I apologize for not getting here fast enough. But Shane, how do you feel about Kareem Hunt? Don't forget you're on mute.
How do you feel about Donovan Peoples-Jones?
Really.
I was going to bring that up as the last thing. God damn it.
I feel about him as I do most players that don't move a needle in any way whatsoever.
Really?
He's a solid. Look, if I need a running back 4 on my dynasty team, I'm happy if I have Kareem Hunt. If I need an RB2, I'm not.
Oh my God! Dustin comes into the chat. Says, "Are we moving Jacob down our analyst rankings since he cut his hair like we did to Herbert when he shaved his head?" Also, guess I'm saying Jacob is the Herbert of fantasy football analyst.
I love it.
Thank you, Dustin. That was great.
That's actually how I got my spot on this podcast. Is that a doctor punched the previous co-host's lung?
Oh yeah, that's actually very true. All right, let's move on to Ronald Jones because this was part of the conversation. Is there any chance that he explodes between now and this time next year?
Yes, absolutely. Because
isn't he going to be like 25 or something?
Right, but remember everything Shane said about Juju truthers? Rojo truthers.
Ah.
Right? Big Rojo truthers. And again, he's in KC. Here's the thing with Ronald Jones, right? What is Ronald Jones best at? Explosive runs. What is Clyde Edwards Hilaire worst at? Like, of everyone in the entire league. Explosive runs. What about KC's running game? What happens with their running game? Well, they have a ton of space because everyone cares a lot more about Patrick Mahomes than defending Ronald frickin' Jones. So he's going to face such a million 6-man boxes. He's going to have a lot of open lanes. Ronald Jones, not a vision guy, right? That's not his game. His game is not like play diagnosis. His game is run through hole fast. And once he has a full head of steam, he can break a lot of tackles. And he's not going to have to worry that much about being a precise, lane reading runner because he's going to have a lot of wide open spaces. Like he's a member of the Dixie Chicks to run through. And he's going to be,
wait,
you ever heard that song? Wide open spaces on the fence like wide or something new places.
Blank Spaces from Taylor Swift.
No, this is the Dixie Chick. You never heard of the song?
Sure.
And everybody just unsubscribe to our podcast.
Who doesn't know what I'm talking about?
Shane, how do you feel about Ronald Jones? I'm cutting Jacob off.
Look, if you held on to Ronald Jones, you didn't hold on to Ronald Jones. No one's held on to Ronald Jones. But this could actually be the year that he pops. Like Jacob said, man, he's going to have wide open spaces and he's just going to run free, and it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Rojo needs wide open spaces.
All right, so moving on.
He needs.
God, Jacob.
No, this song is perfect. Like.
DJ Chark? No, I have absolutely no intentions of buying in on DJ Chark. I like DJ Chark.
Isn't he like the same age as Quintez Cephas?
I don't know. No. I was feeling a lot better about DJ Chark before free agency when no one wanted him, and then Detroit gave him a 1-year contract, and then Detroit said, "You know what? Let's think about what we're doing here, kids. Let's trade up 50 picks so we could go get Jamison Williams." So, yeah, I got nothing on DJ Chark.
Yeah, I don't really like Chark at the best of times, but these are the worst of times.
Yeah. He's basically a roster clogger at this point.
Well, let's bring up Quintez Cephas then. Which one would you rather have?
I'd rather have Chark because he got round 2 draft capital and he had one good season. So he's going to continue sticking in the league. So like if he fails in Detroit, he will get another contract somewhere else. Whereas Quintez Cephas was a round 5 pick who got injured and hasn't done anything. So if he does nothing, he might not be in the NFL.
Okay. I could accept that. I feel like Quintez Cephas is somewhat similar to Gabriel Davis, where he produced when he had an opportunity. Unfortunately,
Did I miss a 200-yard game from Quintez Cephas?
No, I'm talking about earlier in his career, not as of late.
And I'll give this to Quintez Cephas, actually. I was running through these Gabe Davis comps in the Discord on a future article that I'm working on. And he won't make it because he played way too few games this year. He played like 5 games. But if I reduce the games played threshold, Quintez Cephas actually does pop as a comp for Gabriel Davis.
Does he really? Okay. That's cool to know because I feel like they were, just from looking at it briefly, I was like, I feel like Gabriel Davis is so similar to Quintez Cephas when it comes to his professional career prior to the breakout. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. Shane, he has to prep for his date in like 2 weeks or something like that.
1 week. He does it next week.
It's one. Oh, shit, Shane.
Yeah.
Do you... I know some people in Philly that wear some wigs and stuff. Do you want me to call them up and tell them to come over to help you practice?
Wear a wig? I don't know.
Yeah, like so you can feel comfortable talking to a girl. Wait, is it a girl or is it a dude?
It's a woman.
Okay, I was just
because I'm 43 years old, so I don't date girls. You fucking pedo.
I really love this shit.
Goddamn.
How's the motility, bro?
He's a pedophiler. Anywho, I was going to try to go out on a list.
It doesn't matter because she's a woman. So go ahead.
So anyway,
did you confirm, by the way? Did you have a girl in your apartment last episode?
Who? Clyde?
Oh, I forgot about
so
that.
At the end of last episode, you said that your son was waking you up, and you left really abruptly. But it was like 10:30 Eastern time. And you had been looking over throughout the episode. And so Chase thought that you had a girl in the apartment on a date. And I was like, okay, do you really think that Shane is good looking enough to pull off having a girl in his apartment and making her wait 90 minutes through a fantasy football podcast? And my
it wasn't 90. It was 60 minutes because he had to leave.
No.
I said maybe not 90 minutes, but 60 minutes, yes, because he had to get out there else he lost
60 minutes. 60 minutes, yes. That's
60 minutes with new host Shane Manila.
They would never last 16 minutes with Shane.
I'm just picturing Shane being like, yeah, come on over. I have to record this podcast where I talk about fake football, so just sit in the corner for an hour.
Just got weird.
Yeah.
Nick, if you haven't been in the show before, it's not just all fantasy football. It's just 80%. Well, like 80%.
Like it's a dead zone, man. Like it is hard to come up with fantasy content. You got to mix in alternate content.
Oh my god, I just want to say goodnight.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the end of the Celtics game. So
you know where you know where to find me on the Twitters.
We know where to find him with his women's, with his girls
on Tinders, on the Tinders.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at @FF_RTDB. You can always find me in the Bulletproof Discord. You can find me on Tuesdays for the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. You can find me last Saturday on Cash Considerations, our new Full Tilt best ball betting DFS show, which we're doing best ball content all summer. I'll probably be doing that once again on Saturday afternoon. this weekend. So check that one out for sure. And then you can find my written work up on Player Profiler. My next series is going to be called The Polarizers. And for that series, I'm going to be picking one of the players each week that fantasy Twitter just cannot stop talking about. And we're going to dive in. We're going to look at the range of outcomes. We're going to look at the cases for and against. So I'm starting with Gabriel Davis, then on to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we'll let the users of Twitter decide who's next after those two. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on, I'm not sure. I thought I had one more thing, but I guess I don't. So
just don't touch on Shane's Tinder date. That's all.
Here, I have a thing. I have a pinned tweet because there's a lot of people yelling into the void on Twitter, virtue signaling, to actually fucking do something if you want change. So I have a pinned tweet. Go donate money.
Oh man, Shane is the best charity. Hey, if y'all want to go check out and support our podcast, make sure you guys go to trophysmack.com. Trophysmack.com. Once again, use promo code CIRCLE. If you guys purchase a trophy or a title belt, I don't even know where mine is, or a title belt, you guys can actually get a free ring if you all use promo code CIRCLE. Make sure the ring and the belt are in the cart. And if you see this trophy behind me, it might look like it's on a table, right? Like an end table, because that's the normal size of a trophy. However, when you go to Trophy Smack and you decide to pick up a trophy, you're not just picking up a trophy that would sit on a table. You're picking up a fucking massive heavyweight fucking, I don't even know what, like, trophy. You get a plaque with it that you can actually hang on your wall each season. You can customize it every single time. This thing is absolutely massive. It's ridiculous. I don't know why I want it so bad, but I had to have it when I purchased it from TrophySmack.com for our Fantasy Intervention League. Make sure you guys tune in next week over there at 9 p.m. Go to TrophySmack.com. Use promo code CIRCLE if you're purchasing a trophy to get a free ring along with it. Those rings are gorgeous. And go check us out, youtube.com/fantasy intervention. We have all sorts of clips coming out, things you're going to want to use in the offseason. And I'm about to actually work on the website for fantasyintervention.com. It's not done yet, but I'm about to start working on it to actually optimize it for the dose score, the dump off containment efficiency score, where you guys can use it for
the essential
DFS,
part of your RB2 streaming, your DFS, your whatever. You're the true hero of the zero RB drafter with the dose score.
It pretty much works out almost every week, and I appreciate you for saying that. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you all for letting us
use the dose score all the time. Like I draft tons and tons of zero RB teams, so I'm always trying to figure out which shitty running back I need to plug into my RB2 slot, and I look at the dose score before I make those decisions.
I need to optimize for best ball. That's probably going to be a goal of 2024, and I'm very excited for that. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you all for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life. Balls is life. We'll get at you. We're out.